Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and cockles, bringing you the best TV shows and movies weekly in an easily digestible podcast packed with laughs by me, Ross Bolen, and my dear friend, Mr. Barrett Dudley. Barrett, how are you today?
I'm good. What I am is I'm also just really shocked and impressed because I picked you up today and you got in my car at nominally 10 till 1. It's 1:25.
Nominally.
You have been enjoying the same Juiceland smoothie since you got in the car, and this is frankly shocking. I don't know about the Clan Fam and the listeners out there, but when I get a delicious smoothie,
You go in on it.
it takes me all of like 4 minutes to drink. I cannot pace myself on a smoothie. It's impossible. So many accolades for you, sir, for savoring and enjoying this thing. It's still damn near full. Like,
Barrett, I just took my first sip, man.
What are you doing over here? How are you What are you taking little tiny baby sips?
I was letting it marinate, you know? Just nursing it a little bit, letting it do its thing. No, honestly, a lot of the time when I've got a smoothie on me and I'm not hungry yet, it just kind of travels with me until the feeling hits.
No, I can't do that. I could have just eaten, a whole pizza. You give me some smoothie like that, and I'm gonna suck that thing down, right down.
I've been there,
like the chrome off a trailer hitch.
Good Lord, Barrett, I have a phenomenal outfit already set aside for this week's Sopranos podcast.
Okay.
It is brand new. I'm not going to say anything else about it except that I can't wait to show it off Thursday. And if you miss me in this outfit doing episode, what are we on, 8?
Yeah, it's going to be episode 8.
8 of The Sopranos Season 1 on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. You will live the rest of your life, much like Sato in Inception, filled with regret, waiting to die alone. Just something to keep in mind, Barrett.
Yeah. Just speaking of the Patreon, even if you're not watching The Sopranos, maybe you'd like to join the Discord. And that's
the cord is strong.
That's available to all of our tiered Patreon members.
All of them.
And I mean, it's just there's all sorts of talk in there. There's so many channels. There's bots. Did you know the Discord has bots? I don't know what the bots do, but they're there.
They help. They're helpful bots.
One is called Rehoboam, and
that's from Westworld. That can't be good.
You guys are now the members of the Discord. The Cord is Strong are now influencing the premiere segment of this podcast, Tidbits and such. I now see some of these. The stuff gets posted, and I got to bring it up. I got to talk about it. So
huzzah!
If you want to get in there and you want to chat and you want to look, there's like this one show that people are just absolutely coming about, and it's called Attack on Titan, and it's on like something called Funatron.
The Discord's all over Attack on Titan.
Fun and Games, Satron.
AOT.
Yeah, you can also maybe watch it on Hulu, but only Hulu Live. I don't know. The hubbub around this animated series is so overwhelming that I am considering trying to figure out how to watch a few episodes just because that's how much the members of the Clan Fam mean to me. Like, if you guys are so passionate about this, even though I know it's not my wheelhouse,
not up your alley,
necessarily, I'm inclined to give it a go so that we can give it a little bit more love here on the show. All that being said, the Patreon, it's not just for watching The Sopranos, even though that's a great portion of it for the time being and for the foreseeable future. But maybe you just want to join our little community here on the Discord and get to chatting with all the other members of the Clan Fam. So
you can do that in the Discord on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Did you know? You do now. Today's episode of OCC is brought to you by Athletic Greens, the most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage I've ever tried. Great stuff. With so many stressors in life, it's difficult to maintain effective nutritional habits and give our bodies the nutrients they need to thrive. We've got busy schedules. Some of us get poor sleep. We don't exercise. We do exercise. Look, 2020 wrecked all of our, routines, right? And many of us fell out of sorts with our nutritional habits, and this is where Athletic Greens helps Barrett and I out. Their daily all-in-one superfood powder is your nutritional essential. It's usually what I start my day with, either right before or right after my workout. It's by far the easiest and most delicious nutritional habit that you can add to your health routine today and empower yourself to take ownership of your health. You put one tasty scoop of Athletic Greens containing 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens, superfood, and more that all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet that may have formed, increase energy and focus, aid with digestion, important digestion, you need to digest, and support a healthy immune system, all without the need to take multiple products. And that's the key, without the need to take multiple products. Barrett, have you enjoyed your Athletic Greens so far?
My Athletic Greens sits in a beautiful canister inside of the fridge.
The setup they hit you with is very, very nice.
And I get up and I go to the fridge and I put the coffee on. But before I have the coffee and before I have the breakfast, I get a scoop of Athletic Greens. And if you would like to become and feel like a healthy, strong individual, then this is an essential part of a part of your day.
Yes.
Because Lord knows that you're not going to sit there and blend up a bunch of kale and spinach and pineapple and what have you and shove it down your gullet.
Most of us don't have that kind of time,
You're going to
Barrett.
grab a scoop of the Athletic Greens and you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel so healthy. I feel so good. And then it's going to make you feel that way, and then you're going to become that way, and it's all thanks to Athletic Greens, helping you with your digestion and all of your general health. It's great.
Look, most of us, we're huge TV and movie fanatics here. Generally, there is a lack of focus within our squad on nutrition and health when it comes down to it. And Athletic Greens, look, I'm not getting 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral, probiotic, greens, superfood, and more that all work together to fill the nutritional gaps in my diet through my regular diet. My regular diet is generally not spectacular. I'm working on it. I'm getting better, and Athletic Greens has been a nice part of that. So if you want to join Barrett and I on the Athletic Greens journey, go to simply visit athleticgreens.com/dragon, athleticgreens.com/dragon today, and join health experts, athletes, and health-conscious go-getters and podcasters around the world who make a daily commitment to their health every single day. Get a free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today if you simply visit athleticgreens.com/dragon, again, for that free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs today. And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment that will encompass this entire podcast henceforth. Tidbits
now
and
we've
such
got
with
some
Barrett.
stuff to talk about today a little bit that it's not really tidbits, so it won't be the whole podcast today.
Is it such, though?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
there's some stuff that's not on TBNS today.
We'll do a secondary segment.
We'll do a secondary segment, but it can all bleed together.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Okay, a couple weeks ago we talked about an upcoming movie that sounded fun on Netflix. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence in a film directed by Adam McKay, who did The Big Short and Vice and Step Brothers, among others. That one has a trailer out, so go watch that. In similar news, I like David O. Russell. He's another director and writer that I'm a fan of. American Hustle stands out in my mind as one of my favorite movies of the last 15 years.
Silver Linings Playbook. Joy, The Fighter.
Yeah, The Fighter.
He was a Three Kings guy in some way, shape, or form.
Yep, exactly. Information keeps coming out about members of the cast in his new, as of yet, untitled project. And so, just to quote the headline from Vanity Fair, David O. Russell's new movie stars everyone on Earth.
Oh.
And here, I'm just going to read you the names, all right?
God,
Robert De Niro, Margot Robbie, Rami Malek, Christian Bale, Chris Rock, Michael Shannon, Anya Taylor-Joy, shouts to Queen's Gambit, Zoe Saldana, John David Washington, and recently announced Timothy Olyphant. The hits keep on coming.
I see De Niro's name showing up in
Robert
some
De Niro
places
is the
here.
first one that I said.
Oh, sorry.
So just a one of these massive projects that has everybody, just like an absolutely incredible A-list cast. And I don't know.
Untitled?
These untitled as of yet. I don't know shit about this movie. But I don't know. It's so Mike Myers as well is another name attached to this film, which could be interesting.
Good stuff.
It's crazy because it's like, you give me Leo and J-Law and I'm like, okay, this feels good. Toss a few other names in there, right? That one had some other stars kind of mixed in. But you give me 2-3 stars in a movie and I'm feeling good. You tell me there's 14 people that I like in a movie and now I'm starting to worry.
I'm a little
Because now
concerned.
this sounds like one of those Valentine's Day.
Is this
or
a New Year's resolution
Eve
movie or whatever the fuck? Yeah, New Year's
Right?
Eve, Valentine's
Like this
Day.
is too many people. How are these people all going to get any time to shine? I love all of these people.
Is David O?
Am I gonna get one scene with Anya Taylor-Joy? I need Anya Taylor-Joy in a whole movie.
Okay, but David O. Russell, what was the example? The first example you
American
gave?
Hustle, which had a big
did-
cast, but we're talking like 4 or 5 big people. That one had Bradley Cooper, Christian Bale, Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams,
Right.
Russell Crowe, I want to say.
But there have been directors who have found ways to do movies with more superstar power that are a little cameo-esque. Like the Mike Myers name reminds me of his little cameo in Inglourious Bastards that Tarantino did,
That's
which
true.
was spectacular. So you have to root for that angle and not the let's get all of these people equal screen time, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, Ashton Kutcher, and 400 other stars, Julia Roberts angle.
Yeah. So just another kind of exciting piece of entertainment news, something to look forward to and keep your eye on for the title of that movie. Maybe a plot.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no information. They know 20 people in it.
I did want to bring it up.
Yeah, David O. Russell, by the way, looks a little like Ari Gold to me.
Ah, okay.
Just a note.
Just a tidbit.
For all the Entourage fans out there.
God, yes.
Tools.
Okay, this one is a bit of a clam fam correction.
Yeah.
I brought up Starship Troopers last week, and
yes, we did.
And I totally meant to, as I was investigating the cast, and one of my big pieces was about how Casper Van Dien didn't really have like the career that like Ryan Phillippe and Paul Walker and kind of other guys of his ilk and look ended up having. And I absolutely meant to mention this because it was such a weird tie-in, and I totally spaced on it. So you brought it. You actually texted me about it.
My mom is the one who texted me and I didn't even know, man.
But Casper Van Dien was married to Catherine Oxenberg, our like one of our protagonists in The Vow.
I mean, arguably the protagonist.
Whose daughter is entrapped in the Nexium cult.
Look, when she gets into the doc, she takes that shit like pretty much over.
Right.
Like when her character is when her story is introduced, not her character. It's very real. But yeah, crazy random connection there that this is one of the couple dudes she's been married to. What a random home run he hit.
So I typoed here. It's Casper Van Dien, not Casper Van Diem. It's not Carpe Diem. It's Casper Van Dien. Sorry
whatever.
about that. But yeah, married to Catherine Oxenberg. Now, I was going to be real floored if India was his daughter, but that is not the case.
Not the case. Not the case. That would have been really wild and then very crazy that we had not heard a reference to that or in any way learned that at any point.
Yeah.
That the star of Starship Troopers was the father of India. That would have been a whole nother wrinkle they left out.
Surely they would have thrown that in there. I don't know. Yeah, Casper Van Dien. Just continuing to go down. This pad, like the angles of his face, which made him so striking when he was like 25 or whatever doing this movie, they actually didn't end up benefiting him down the line. He got you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He needs a little weight. He needs a little extra weight on him or something.
It happens.
Not sure, but yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there. And,
hell of a two names, by the way, in that marriage that they had going. Catherine Oxenberg and what? Say it.
Casper Van Dien.
His name was Casper.
Casper.
That had
the
to
friendly
been tough
ghost
in middle school. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He had to make sure he stayed tan, dude, because the jokes were too easy if he got pale. He couldn't be looking like me.
That's true. That's true.
No.
Okay. Let's also talk here about the Nielsen ratings.
Oh.
So Nielsen ratings are now they include streaming, and I guess there might even be there's Nielsen's streaming rankings, and they do it by minutes streamed.
Okay.
So it's like minutes of viewing time for a given show.
Okay.
And so for shows that have multiple seasons on these streaming platforms, Schitt's Creek, for example, you can be watching any of Schitt's Creek, and it bumps Schitt's Creek up to whatever position it might be in.
Got it.
And so, let's see. This is posted January 14th, so nominally a week ago. The Mandalorian became the first non-Netflix show to top the Nielsen streaming chart.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at it. I think this is the most recent one.
And
wow.
It had 1.34 billion minutes of viewing time in the week of December 14th to December 20th.
Okay, so that's the list I'm on too. And not only did they become the first show to top the list that's not a Netflix show, every other show in the top 10 is from Netflix. Every single one. And
so currently the rankings measure Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Netflix. And yeah, it's just there's a lot of things to read into here, but one of them is kind of what we've been talking about for a few weeks now, which is despite Netflix not always having kind of like the biggest bangs or the biggest splashes, it's just what everybody has. It's just everybody has Netflix still.
Which is why when we were talking about like there hasn't really been a thing that was like a big draw and another Clam Fam correction, people were like, what about the Queen's Gambit? It's like, yeah, but I don't know. It just Netflix feels like the generic everybody has this as a streaming service.
And this kind of goes to show that. What it also goes to show is that what the show that The Mandalorian edged out is The Office. So that's not going to be there starting in a couple of weeks because Netflix doesn't have The Office anymore.
Right.
Now, just anecdotally, I pay for YouTube TV, so I'm able to kind of have that like that droll of the cable just on.
Right.
And just in recent kind of like days and weeks, just having stuff on around the house, you can just watch reruns all day long of The Office on Comedy Central. So it was kind of like a it was kind of like oh man, Netflix leaving The Office leaving Netflix, like that kind of sucks. Like now I'm gonna have to go track it down on Peacock or whatever. It's still, if you have cable or if you have YouTube TV, it's still very much accessible. It's still running all day long.
Right.
But more to the point, it's just crazy how shows like The Office and like Friends just still, I mean, comparatively, they still dominate in the rankings.
Because that was not a thing. I mean, granted, we always had reruns, right?
Right.
And we had networks that really crushed it with TBS was mostly Seinfeld for a decade.
Yes.
Like after the show had ended.
Yeah, and like Nickelodeon, it's just they're always playing Friends.
Yeah.
If it's like after 6 p.m., they're playing Friends.
Look, you and I, we've spoken on, I watched a lot of Nick at Night when I was a little kid, man. So I've seen a lot of, I Love Lucy and I Dream of Jeannie and all those shows. And so granted, that element of entertainment has existed. But the scope at which you're talking about a show that's off the air that is the second most popular television show in the world streaming. The Office, that's crazy. That's the power that these platforms are the staying power that they're giving to these series. And think about that. Over the span of the next 50 years, billions of people or billions of hours and will be streamed of that show on whatever platform it's available.
Yeah, and I mean,
is it going to Peacock? Was that a joke?
It's the Office, Grey's Anatomy, Criminal Minds, and Schitt's Creek are all on this top 10, and it's it's just pretty wild how despite what we're interested in talking about is obviously all the new and all the now and all the updated seasons and new shows, and here comes Succession coming back, and that's the type of thing. And then when you boil it down, people are spending their time with just kind of whatever on their running on their Netflix.
Yeah.
Like the comfort food, basically. It's like
it makes sense.
You want to talk about going to Uchi, but you're at home having McDonald's all the time.
Yeah, it makes sense based on where we've been at as a society. I can't believe The Office is going to Peacock, though. That you were dead ass serious.
Oh, it's off. It's gone. It's off Netflix now.
So it's on Peacock now.
It's on Peacock now.
For real.
They took it back. NBC Universal took it back.
Peacock.
Well, I should clarify. They bought it back.
Okay.
They made an offer that their parent company couldn't refuse.
Uh-huh. Wild shit, though. Yeah. So you read the whole thing, I think, or at least the ones
I picked off. I mean, basically half of the ones here. I mean, even something like what is Supernatural? Isn't that an old show?
Supernatural is a long-running, I want to say, vampire-y sitcom thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I've eaten a meal of food at Fabo e Rossi in Austin, about 3 feet from one of the stars of this show, so I should know more about
Jared
it.
Padalecki?
He had long hair. He was a beautiful man.
Yes, Jared Padalecki.
Yeah, very intimidating to be within his presence.
Co-owns the bar called Stereotype here on West 6th Street as well.
No shit.
Yeah, he's an Austin guy basically.
Cool. Good for him.
Yeah, you're right. So again, this show's been on since 2005, man.
Yeah, it's an
So
old ass show.
That one goes on there too. Like Grey's Anatomy, there's like 42 seasons of that already.
Okay, so here's another question I have. Like, are the Office guys, characters, people who played on the show, not the producers, are they getting a back end cut off of this? I guess it really depends on contract situations, but obviously when they formed their contracts for the sake of doing the show, I doubt very much that anybody had these type of streaming numbers in mind, and that is an insane amount of money that should be.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know. Now, obviously, they're all getting royalty checks from the networks like Comedy Central that are airing
Right.
the reruns.
Right.
But Netflix and now Peacock basically makes like a lump sum to the studio, to the production company. Like, hey, we're optioning, we're going to pay you $1 billion over the next 10 years or whatever it is for the streaming rights. Now, does some of that money like trickle down into the pockets of the actors because of the way that the contracts were set up? I mean, when they
That's
all,
what I'm curious.
Right, when they all set up their deals, that would have been in like 2005, 2006,
That
right?
wouldn't have been a thing.
Maybe they re-upped for the back half of the seasons, but even then, it's like streaming was still in its relative infancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. I would not be surprised if they are not seeing much of that.
The other shocking thing about this list is that obviously with The Office, you have 192 episodes available, which amounts to that whatever crazy number of minutes you said.
Mm-hmm.
1,311 million minutes, I think, is the one I'm looking at. The Mandalorian has 16 episodes,
Right,
bruh.
yeah, and they're short.
16. And, well, their shortness, I guess, just like with The Office, helps that number. But still, 16 episodes, and they topped out above 192 episode series that is closed out, which is just, it really speaks to how much of a home run The Mandalorian has been for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is fucking wild, dude. Again, good for them, especially considering the simplicity of that show, especially considering everything that's gone into it with Pedro Pascal and the stupid helmet.
Yeah,
Like, that is some wild, wild stuff. And then The Crown, obviously, not shocking to me. None of these are really all that shocking, except that what the hell is Manhunt Deadly Games that only has 10 episodes and is coming in at number 5? I have to Google Manhunt Deadly Games now.
Well, dude, I've never heard of Virgin River either.
I don't want to know what that is, though. Manhunt Deadly Games is about the Unabomber.
Okay.
It's the Unabomber miniseries. Cool. I'm in for that at some point, too. Probably. Not looking up Virgin River. Don't want to know.
Well, I'm gonna look it up then. I gotta
Okay.
see what this is.
That's on you.
Yeah. Now, the thing, Nielsen needs to. They need to start documenting all these other streaming services, though. That's important because
Yeah, this feels fucked up.
That's a good look. If The Office continues to dominate on Peacock, then Peacock should get some shine here on this list, right? Like
You would think so.
They need a little bit more access here.
Yeah, for it to
Virgin
just be those
River-
big four, that's tough. It's about a nurse practitioner in L.A. who moves to Northern California.
Oh,
town.
yeah. Okay. I was getting this kept popping up on my Netflix, like they wanted to show me this preview, and it's basically Laura called this out. She said, "Oh, this is essentially a remake of the one with I want to say it had Rachel Bilson.
Rachel
Um,
Bilson.
Heart of Dixie. That's
I
it.
hate that my computer can hear everything we say.
Heart of
I
Dixie.
typed Rachel and it just filled Bilson in. I've never
Bilson.
Googled that before.
Yeah.
Billy Costa.
So yeah, I don't know. Crazy stuff there. Okay, moving on here. I wanted to give a quick shout
Nielsen.
to this season of The Bachelor. I know we have some Bachelor, some people that do enjoy when I touch on The Bachelor.
Huzzah.
And the guy's name is Matt James. He did not come from, they typically have been in this cycle where they're recycling a contestant that did not win in the previous season. They make him the Bachelor or her the Bachelorette.
Right.
Matt James has been kind of like in the pipeline for a little bit. He was supposed to be on this most recent season of The Bachelorette. Things kind of fell apart. The pandemic hit. He bailed. They kind of knew they wanted him for Bachelor anyway, and they just like basically halfway through the Bachelorette season, they just announced like Matt James is our new Bachelor. He's the first Black Bachelor as well.
Oh wow,
And
cool.
he's kind of a throwback in that.
How have we not had a black guy the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah, they've not been great in that department.
What the fuck?
It's been
Okay.
a very, very white show.
Jesus.
So Matt is also kind of a throwback because he feels like the guys, some of the original Bachelors, and that he actually is an eligible Bachelor. He is like this beautiful, tall man that played like football at Wake Forest and now does real estate in New York City. And like he's not
He's got abs.
he's not here on the show as a quote unquote Bachelor because he got popular on the previous season of reality television. He is a legitimate eligible Bachelor. Like
Back to the roots.
You know, he's around 30 years old, right? Like, or maybe he's in his late 20s, but he's not 23. He's not 24, and he's just been like a total breath of fresh air because he seems to be having like real conversations. The cast is obviously the most diverse that we've ever seen for a Bachelor as well. Just a lot of like really kind of like interesting people. And they while this last season of The Bachelorette, they kind of like, you could really feel that they were kind of busting at the seams, not really knowing what to do with this pandemic. They were in Palm Springs at this La Quinta resort where there was shit all to do.
La Quinta.
It not like you're thinking of
Okay.
the motel chain. It's a resort in Palm Springs.
Got it.
But they were really like they were struggling to come up with stuff to do here, and the scenery was not all that great. You could tell it was like 110 degrees every single day. It was just kind of a mess and a disaster of a season. Well, this season they've moved it to they shot this in the fall, and they were in the kind of early fall, September, kind of that range. And they were at a resort that I've never heard of in Pennsylvania called Nemacolin. And Nemacolin essentially looks like adult Disneyland. It is fabulous.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Stunning. Absolutely gorgeous.
What are we
place.
talking? What do they got going on?
They got
in there?
everything. Literally. Name it. They have it.
Go-karts.
Yes. Horses. Horseback riding. Yes.
Rock climbing.
All of it, dude. They got outdoor hot tubs. They got
For fucking.
they're clearly they've got so much more to do, and the backdrop is so much prettier. And I was like, I wasn't really excited about this season because the Bachelorette one that just finished
Was
with
garbage.
the two was really hot garbage. It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Twitter very unhappy with it.
And this is just, they've bounced back like a charm, man. They really, while they shat the bed with that one, there were clearly people figuring out how to make this not crappy
Right.
for The Bachelor.
Your angle is,
And they nailed it. And it's just kind of, it's got these other wrinkles as well.
most
and it's
important
been-
one that you
it's been
spoke to
great.
for me being that, that was the draw. That was the original draw for me. I don't really like reality TV, but the reason I was sort of interested in The Bachelor way back when was conceptually the idea of some, relatively successful, some degree of success, 30-ish dude or woman who has struggled to find love being put in a situation where they could find a life partner or whatever. Just as a concept, even knowing fake reality TV is what it is a cool concept. But then they sort of, like you said, they broke away from that because every season became about like plugging somebody else from the already
Right,
reality
yes.
TV world. I'm like, I don't care about that world at all. So you lose me with that. And then this is the type of thing that could potentially bring me back in. Granted, it won't here, but
Yeah,
it could
yeah.
have. It could have. And that's, but it
Um,
might work for us.
But it might work for us.
Yeah.
And you obviously have a bunch of young, dumb, hot bimbos on here as well. I mean, this guy is hot as hell. They got to give him some.
Some candy.
They got to
Ooh,
give
piece
him
of candy.
some hot young arm candy as well. But it looks like the front runners are all pretty stand up ladies that have something going for them. So just a really, it was a good strong bounce back
Gotcha.
after a dud of a Bachelorette season, and so I had to shout it out, and yeah, so far so good on the Bachelor front. Yeah,
I'll probably tune in for
la-
like the bikini episode.
Last night we also learned that host Chris Harrison. By the way, Chris Harrison is moving to Austin. If you didn't know that,
Oh, another one.
as the exodus continues, he's
Welcome,
moving.
Chris.
Big golfer. He's moving to. He's building a house out on Barton Creek.
Sick.
Yeah, he has penned an erotic romance novel.
What's that?
Yeah,
Like
so
a serious one?
Yeah.
Not like a fun, like a funny book. Like this is he wrote like a for real erotic romance, like a We talking like 50 Shades of Grey style, like,
I don't think it's that extreme.
but they're going for it.
It's called The Perfect Letter, and it's a romance novel, and so that 50 Shades of Grey is as well. But yeah, it's got like he's writing about sexy times.
What in the hell? Do you love romance? Do you love reading? Do you love The Bachelor? Are you from Texas? If you answered yes to any two of those questions, do we ever have the book for you? That's what Huffington Post says.
Yeah.
That's fucking interesting.
I mean, there's some excerpts in there that definitely get steamy. He's written some steamy passages in here.
From the back cover. From the man who knows a thing or two about love. Okay. From the fake reality TV show that he does he?
Yeah,
I don't know if that was the first line I wanted to be fed, but here's the concept. A talented young book editor in New York City, Lee leads a rich life full of writing, parties, and romance. Oh, sorry, I missed this part. Lee Merrill spent 10 years running away from her past. Now she's going back. A talented young book editor in NYC, Lee leads a rich life full of writing, parties, and romance, far from the dust of her grandfather's horse farm in Texas. And she's engaged to Joseph, a brilliant, generous man who adores her. Wow, those are great adjectives. Still, when she's invited to a writers' conference in Austin, Lee can't help but feel that Texas, with all of its tangled secrets, is calling her home. She tells herself the trip is just a few days away to catch up with old friends, meet new authors, and clear her mind. But Lee's plans for a quiet retreat quickly dissolve when she discovers a stack of letters from her past in her hotel room. Letters that bear her soul and deepest and darkest secrets.
Yeah.
Letters she wrote to the love of her life.
So if you're looking for a sexy read out there,
Yeah.
and you are also a fan of The Bachelor, and you're a member of Bachelor Nation, then here's a book rec.
Hold on, one more line. After years of running, but with nowhere left to hide, Lee must finally decide what she truly wants and just how much she'll risk to get it. That's it.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna do last tidbit here, and this will kind of branch us into segments about what we're actually watching here. So we're gonna start here with the superhero stuff. That's where we'll go for television watching as well. Ooh. Justice League coming out in March. There was some chatter about this potentially being released in 4 one-hour installments. Zack Snyder has confirmed via Twitter that this will instead be released as a 4-hour movie.
You're so stoked on that. You can't wait, Barrett.
What I don't understand is like with this streaming stuff, right? It's like it's a memory card. It's you're taking digital photos. Like, why not just do both? Have the 4-hour option, and then also let me put it out in 4-hour, 1-hour segments too.
Because these dudes are weird. Why is Zack Snyder always?
I guess I can just pause at 1 hour and 2 hours and 3 hours, but like I don't know. Like just give me. But maybe that's not where you were going to do the exact breaks. Like just give me where you wanted the breaks. I don't know. It seems like it would be easy.
4 hours?
Yeah, I don't. This is sounding more and more masturbatory, and I guess it's not surprising given that it's Zack Snyder. But I don't know. This feels like, you know, if the Snyder Cut had existed already, essentially, and people were clamoring for it and begging for it, and like, release the Snyder Cut, yeah, like, yeah, great, boom, they released the Snyder Cut. It's like a special treat for HBO Max. And like, you know, maybe you can get some people to come over to the streaming service and check it out because they're releasing the one that he originally submitted.
Sure.
But this is not that.
Yeah.
He like had to go back and like make the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, this is weird.
And I think they spent like $35 million extra to get the Snyder Cut, and it's Look, like it's too hyped up. This has been talked about for many, many months now.
That's the problem, is we heard Snyder Cut 70,000 times. I'm not even in the Avengers fan base, and I heard Snyder Cut for a fucking year. And then they finally did it, and I feel like it empowered him, like,
yes, no, absolutely.
Zack Snyder.
Exactly.
I am the Snyder Cut. And then he's like, 4 hours. Like, come on. We got stuff to do. Believe it or not, like, even us being stuck in our homes, bro, 4 hours?
No, you're right. And it's like, it's such a,
that's a baseball game, which nobody is in for the full ride of.
I would almost have preferred if he had been like, yeah, Snyder Cut is 6 hours.
Just so you never have to watch it?
Or just so I would be like, oh, Oh,
Jesus.
What? What? 6 hours? Like, they left a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor. I don't know. That would have been long enough to where I was intrigued
By the length.
by the absurd length of this movie. And instead, I'm just like 4 hours.
Dude.
God, like, dude.
It'd be like if they
what?
tried to put out Lonesome Dove in one fucking film sitting.
Yeah, I don't know. The 4 hours, now you're in the range of just where it's like, this just sounds like a chore. And so I don't know.
Look, there is no story you can tell me in 4 hours that by the end of it, I'm not like, oh, thank God it's over. Like 4 hours of my life, I need at least one potty break. Thank God I'm not in the movie theater anymore. That's a long time, son.
I mean, The Irishman is the longest movie that I can think of where I was like, yep, deserved it. And I even had to watch that in two sittings.
Yeah, so did I. But it was still tight.
Yeah.
But this is Zack Snyder.
But this is
an
Zack Snyder,
Avengers
not
movie.
not Scorsese, exactly. And it's not Quentin Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood either. So it's really
Pushing it, man.
I don't
Really
know.
Pushing it.
Yeah. Now, we're not the target audience here, obviously.
No,
either,
clearly not.
But this will exist, and I will probably not do anything about it.
Me neither. I'm not going to do anything with it.
Okay. Now, here's a superhero thing that I will do something about, and I've started watching, and it's important to talk about. So we're leaving behind tidbits and such, and we're talking about what we're watching now.
Got it.
First 2 episodes of Wandavision debuted on
you went in.
Disney Plus this Friday. I told you last week that this was the Marvel series, Disney Plus Marvel series that I was locked into.
Right.
Like, this is what I will watch this, even though I'm not like the big MCU guy.
Trailer got you. The angle.
The trailer got me, and you've seen the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Black and white. It's like kind of like maybe 50s, maybe it's like old sitcom style.
Yeah.
And I really thought that they were duping me. I thought I was going to get like 4 minutes of that, and then it was going to be like
regular ass,
like a just like some type of lead or some type of cold open or some type of hook, and then they were going to flip it upside down and be like, now kaboom, we're blowing up a city.
That didn't happen.
That did not happen. Through 2 episodes, which are both around 30 minutes each, so obviously packed that up and put it in my backpack.
Yeah.
This is a 50s style sitcom.
Like for real, they're
For
emulating
real,
it for real.
Yes, and that's obviously a wrinkle that they're playing with. That's a conceit. Now, how long they hold on to this, I'm not so sure, but it is
How the hell do you
really,
shed that
really
once you got it?
fascinating to watch this because, one, you do not need to know anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe to enjoy this show.
That's huge.
You don't need to know anything about Wanda Maximoff or Vision's powers. You don't need to know where they came from. Like, they are packaging these two up as like a little, like a nice little couple that you want to root and cheer for. They both obviously have superpowers, which are kind of shown off in these first 2 episodes in little bits and ways.
Mm-hmm.
But their objective here is they are trying to fit in to their little Pleasantville 50s style white picket fence neighborhood.
Got it.
And there are some really, really cheesy jokes. It almost feels like you're watching Bewitched.
Just like a total
or
throwback.
Dick Van Dyke. But now they're obviously like wink, wink moments as well. Like they know that they are being, they're self-aware that they are making like that very, very retro style joke. And it's therefore, because they're kind of laying it on thick, thanks to the help of a character played by Kathryn Hahn, who I adore.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's been really, really interesting to watch and really fun, and I'm so happy that it is exactly, so far through 2 episodes, exactly what they advertised.
So it was not a hook.
So now here's another layer to what we're seeing here. In both episodes, there are these small moments that happen about 2/3 of the way through the episode where something kind of distorted starts happening.
Okay.
Either like the second one is the kind of easier one to talk about without giving too much of an episode away.
Sure.
But a radio that's playing, talk radio or music or something starts to like go in and out of fuzziness, doing that type of thing.
Okay.
And then you hear a voice coming through like a lot of static that's saying, Wanda! Wanda! And these moments with their black and white start to feel like a Hitchcock movie.
Ooh.
and it gets creepy fast. And then they like pull you back out with something like light as they kind of like glaze over this.
So you have no idea what's going
you have
on yet.
Zero idea. So through 2, they have really, really set up this mystery in like an awesome way that, I mean, it makes my skin crawl almost talking about it. So watching these little moments happen in the episode, and then kind of have them just like, you know, it's like a track on a record kind of skipping.
Yeah.
And then it like gets back on and then the needle falls and it gets back on its track and starts playing the music properly again.
Like it never happened.
Like it never happened. But that's the element that they're playing with here that like is kind of that second layer that's like, okay, something. So
at any second, the brakes could come off.
Something interesting is happening here.
Gotcha.
And we don't know what it is.
Okay, now I understand why you're saying you don't know if they're going to hold on to this version of what they've got going vibes-wise, because that is clearly a massive, yet to be determined wrinkle.
Yes, and so it certainly seems like, at least through this first season, I get the feeling that this whole like they're stuck in this 50s black and white sitcom. I believe that they will stick with this for the first season. That's the feeling that I get as we kind of.
And how many of you watched?
Unfold the 2. That's what's
available.
So
okay. And is it a 10 deep season or 8 or?
I actually don't know.
I'll look it
up. But yeah, I had high hopes going in, and those hopes were met, if not exceeded. I also find Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany both very charming.
9 episodes.
So this was created by Jack Schaefer, directed by Matt Shackman, who I believe Jack Schaefer is credited with writing both of the first 2 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Matt Shackman definitely directed both of the first 2. So it's also one of these instances, a lot like Mandalorian, where you can tell that Jon Favreau is kind of his writing partner, whose name is slipping my mind right now, but like they are very much in control of the entire direction of the season.
Same kind of feeling.
There's not like a bunch of people kind of hopping in to write and, oh, this guy's going to come in direct now. Like,
talking about Joya Tillum. Oh, that's his spouse.
Yeah.
I'll try to find Jon Favreau's writing partner.
But it's just, yeah, I think it's the guy that is writing a lot of Mandalorian. But so you know, it just Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni.
It just has that feeling where you can tell that the same people, even if there are other people in the writer's room or other people come in direct, like the people guiding the ship are always guiding the ship.
Right.
And so it's
an important element.
It's an important element for something kind of kooky like this, where you're really trying something new here, especially with a genre which you wouldn't have thought is like the right vehicle to pull something like this off.
Right.
Anyway, it's a recommend for me in my book, especially given the fact that these are short episodes. It's an hour commitment to check out the first 2. So
I'm in.
Big stuff, and that it
not needing any knowledge, huge for me.
Bodes well for some of these other shows that are yet to arrive on Disney Plus as well. If Disney kind of gave these people the reins to kind of go make the show that they wanted to go make, and weren't hovering over shoulder to make sure that everything created like tied into the next Avengers franchise. So
put another so far winner on Disney Plus for you.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
big for them because Disney Plus is lacking.
One more thing,
other than the number 1 Mandalorian.
One more thing that we got to talk about. I talked about Heaven's Gate a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I started watching it.
You've now been watching this docuseries as well.
So I'm a few in, and as you mentioned, like you said, you listened to the podcast about Heaven's Gate. I can't recall the name of it,
but it's Heaven's Gate.
There you go. That was your prior knowledge. This is something that obviously I remember seeing bits and pieces about this culturally through the news, whatever, newspaper, being told by my parents, seeing references. But Heaven's Gate is really like the most absurd version of the cult, the classic cult that existed, like in terms of the story. It is so wild, and the way it's presented to you in this documentary is so creepy and really like more sad than most of the other ones I've seen. And I mean that from like the guy who, he
Can't
really
speak.
struggles to talk. It's every time you have to listen to him speak, it's painful.
Yeah.
Brutal, dude.
Yeah.
That got like the pain in his voice and his eyes. I don't really know. I don't know what the situation is with his speech, but it doesn't matter. It's about the vibe. And every single one of the people, including like when you get T and Doe footage, like so clearly something is wrong. You know what I mean? The whole time you're just like, oh fuck. I don't know if it's because the Keith Raniere thing like really, really, really messed me up to Colts. Like in terms of just, it's tough for me to watch people get taken for a ride. That lasts several years, and then in the case of Heaven's Gate, literally ends in suicide for what, 30 people or some
39
crazy
people.
shit, with some fucking old man at the helm, like that's got nothing to get, like he's got nothing left in the tank. Of course he wants out, well, but to convince all those people to go with him, it's just wild. And watching that dude speaking to the camera. Watching these religious theologians that they bring out that make these incredible parallels to all the major modern religions, to the point that, like, if you're a religious person and you're watching, at some point it clicks for you, like, oh, I'm in a cult.
Yeah.
It is truly wild. But like I said, the vibe of like sadness and creepiness in this one, it is thick. So I'm going a little slower.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 4 episodes.
Oh shit, I'm almost done.
I'm not sure if you've gotten to the part where the former member that you're talking about, he ends up explaining why his voice is like that, and it is a direct result of being oppressed by Doe.
Okay, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Like he essentially it causes him to leave the cult. And it also leaves him with that like speech impediment because he's so mentally fucked from it.
Oh, that is so fucking sad. Yeah. See?
So,
oh.
yeah, it has that sadness because typically, even when we watch something as crazy as NXIVM, like nobody's died in NXIVM, have they? Am I forgetting something? I don't think anybody got murdered or anybody committed suicide or anybody like. So even though that there's still a lot of the same manipulation and brainwashing and abuse, essentially, it doesn't end with the entire cult, what's left of the cult, all partaking in a mass suicide.
Right.
So that one definitely had that's why Heaven's Gate like has such a kind of hangs over all of this so much, and it's and like I talked about a couple weeks ago, it's like. We think of cults and we kind of think about all this like craziness, and then you do a little bit more research and you do more investigation and you watch something like The Vow, and one of the things that was so interesting about that is how after the first episode you were like, oh, this sounds tight. I'm in. I could possibly benefit from this, right? And it's like, but then you get to Heaven's and right, so a lot of the cults start off with something that is very maybe not
positive,
maybe not approachable, but very positive. Yeah.
Certainly in the case of NXIVM.
This is the one that it like spurs all of the kind of the stuff you kind of make fun of and mock,
because it's so absurd,
and the spaceships and the comet is coming for us and like all this. This is the one that had all the really, really like
outrageous
out there stuff, and so it's very easy to write these people off. I wanted to talk about what you just mentioned about essentially all organized religion, at the very least, starting as a cult. Some would
certainly
say
being comparable
that
to
it
cults.
Is still a cult of sorts. This show is because it references Waco at one point, and
Jonesboro,
and
as well,
and David Koresh. The Branch Davidians. This is what spurred us to start watching Waco, and so we're now through 4 of 6 of that miniseries, and in that little dramatization, they've got the guy that comes on the local Waco radio show, who essentially makes that great point where he's like, and he's some type of theologist or social scientist that studies cults as well, and I'm sure that this is based in something that actually happened or a guest that was actually on a radio show, but he basically says that like in his line of thinking, their kind of thought is that, well, actually cults don't exist because nobody thinks that they're in a cult.
Right.
The only people that call something a cult is those that are not
On the outside looking in.
part of the cult.
Right.
Nobody is like, oh yeah, I'm going to join a cult.
Right.
Which is something that we learn from all of these, for whether it's the Vow or
The
Heaven's
Vow
Gate,
really laid it out, though, like...
or the Branch Davidians and what happened at Waco, like, and something that the miniseries is doing a really nice job of showing is like all of those people that were following David Koresh and that were living there in Waco, 100% bought in and believed, just like you might believe in Christianity or somebody else might believe in Judaism, right?
Right.
Like, and so that like, you guys don't think you're in a cult, neither did they.
Right.
And so it's just this very, very interesting construct that the outsiders have created to essentially label you as crazy.
Yes.
And I'm not
And then
saying
somehow
that,
the same
and I'm
exact
not-
parallels don't apply to religion, which is
Right.
the interesting part. Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that all the members of Heaven's Gate weren't kind of crazy, but like it's
Sure.
just it is very much a it's an A and a B thing. And I just thought it was a great comment. Like nobody that is in a quote unquote what we're calling a cult thinks that they're in a cult.
And if you think about the reasons people who are not raised religiously, that they seek out religion, it's because they're looking for structure, purpose, community. Barrett, these are the exact same reasons people join cults. So there is very little difference and very many parallels that can be drawn, and those religious theologists that they bring in do an incredible job of really putting it out there for you without calling you a moron, which is nice for me as a person who's been raised as a religious person and in the church.
Yeah.
But they really do, like, they get to a point where they're like, they explain that once, was it T or Doe? Who's the female?
I think I always
T?
forget. A T, I'm pretty sure was the female.
One of them died of
T died,
cancer,
yeah,
which
T
was
dies.
a massive problem for them explaining that they were extraterrestrials living in these
They're,
suits,
vehicles. Yeah.
And he explains that every major religion has a moment where they shed everything that came prior because of something that was now a huge wrinkle or a problem. For Christianity, the example given is that when Jesus Christ dies, that the word Messiah inherently did not fit anymore, so they changed the definition. And said it was the heavenly Father and the heavenly kingdom, and the kingdom's not on earth, it's in heaven, and none of that stuff had ever been said up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, that's a shift. And that was, again, it's just wildly entertaining because it's so interesting, but then it's very educational as well, and it gets you to think about all these different things and really shows you, again, another angle of how people get sucked into situations like this, and how if somebody at the top, or multiple people in this case, have too much power and influence, they can really abuse it, and it can be very damaging. In the case of what we see here is a pretty big loss of life for nothing, man. These two people were not aliens, it turns out. They were not living in vehicles, and they don't wait, like all that, whatever. That's the thing you hear and you go, that is crazy. Nobody could sit down in front of me and go, I'm an alien being. Heaven is in outer space, and we are going to the next level. We're going to be picked up by an alien spacecraft, and it's just us 30, 40 people or whatever, and that's heaven. We're going to go with the aliens to heaven, and we'll be aliens together. Like, that's batshit crazy. So it's like this one is more, it's easy to make fun of, and then you start to get to know the people, and you're like, and you feel bad for them. You feel bad for the whole situation, and like that we live in a society where people end up wanting so much that they can fall victim to two loons who are just like out here playing with people's lives. Like, I haven't really gotten to like the why they're doing this yet. I don't know if that even comes. Like, why the fuck T and Doe were like, because by the end with Rhaenyra, I'm like, oh, this is a horny loser who wanted to be able to manipulate women at the end of the day. That was what he was in it for. With these two, I'm like, okay, they weren't having sex. What was this?
It's a really good question for T, especially who you never really figure out what her motivations
Yeah, like
were.
what was she getting out of this other than the power?
With Doe, you get the feeling that a lot of this boiled down to his inability to accept his sexuality.
That he was gay. Right. Because that situation with the Presbyterian preacher's son they tell us about.
His father was a Presbyterian preacher.
Got it.
And so he that seems to be a lot of this seems to be like his way of coping with his own sexual identity.
Certainly
and like
telling everyone in the cult they can't have sex.
Reconcile. Yes, right. The whole thing where they're all celibate, and,
Yep.
and then have you gotten to the castration
No.
yet? Yeah.
They get castrated?
So there's all.
No.
Yeah. So there's.
Oh. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Hate that for them, Barrett. Hate that for them.
But yeah, really.
I have to close it out. I have to
yeah,
watch the
you
rest
got
of
it.
it. It's fascinating and terrifying. But yeah,
It's
they really went for it with the aliens.
it's up there, man. It's the all timers. It's like that, Waco,
Jonesboro.
and then Jonesboro, right? Like those are the kind of the three
Most
big
famous.
ones that at least all those are the three that end in like true tragedy and catastrophe.
They also those three drive a lot of the stereotypes we see in
Yes,
cult leader
yes.
stories and concepts in television shows and movies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's all I got today, man.
Right on. Well, I'm going to go finish Heaven's Gate. That will do it for today's episode of OCC, produced by Myrriah, Gossett, and Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. Huge thanks to our sponsor today, Athletic Greens. Again, go to athleticgreens.com/dragon and get your year's supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs free today. athleticgreens.com/dragon. And if you already have all the Athletic Greens your heart desires, you can go to patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles to support the show directly in exchange for coverage of The Sopranos, ad-free companion podcasts for every single episode of The Sopranos. Barrett and I are working our way through season 1. We're about to do episode 8 this week. The first 7 are available now. You don't have to have watched The Sopranos before. Barrett's a first-timer. You can have watched it before. I've seen it several times. We do every pod spoiler-free, discuss what occurred in that episode, and as it pertains to the information we already have from other episodes. It's been a blast so far, thoroughly enjoying it. Look, we made the first episode free on Patreon so that anybody who's interested in maybe trying it can go listen to the first full ad-free hour of us discussing The Sopranos pilot, episode 1, season 1 from HBO, right there on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. So go give it a listen today. If you enjoy it, ride the rest of the way with us. Join one of the tiers, whether it's the $5 Crustacean Nation or the $10 Mollusk Militia, and get your ad-free Sopranos content each and every week. Right there on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Follow us on social media. We are on Instagram @oysters, clams, cockles, on Twitter @clams and cockles, and of course facebook.com/oysters, clams, cockles. I'm Ross Bolen, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat @WRBOLEN, and listen to my show, The Ross Bolen Podcast, wherever you listen to OCC. We focus on mental health and humor with new episodes every Monday and Wednesday, The Ross Bolen Podcast, also presented by Bolen Media. Mr. Dudley, where can we follow you and keep up with you on social media?
Check me out @Barrett Dudley across all of the platforms. I'll be there.
The platforms. Stay in your vehicle and keep it healthy,
I'm
Barrett.
going to stay in this vehicle
Keep it healthy with those athletic
as
greens.
long as I possibly can. I'm going to treat it right with my athletic greens. I just call it my AG.
I'm going to go continue my celibate lifestyle so that I can make my way to these pure alien beings, man. What a stupid idea. Until our next helping. Adios, muchachos.